you think is normal isn't. What you consider right is just an arbitrary construction. And what you reject with disgust might be lurking in some dark corner of your own mind. Now tell me, are you sure that everything you believe about human sexuality isn't just a big lie you've been told? Imagine it for a moment. You grow up in a world that teaches you what is acceptable and what isn't, what the limits are, what the rules are. But what happens when someone dares to cross that line? What happens when the shadows of the forbidden emerge and challenge everything you took for granted? There is a name that echoes in the history of psychology, a man who not only explored the human mind, but dissected it mercilessly. Sigmund Freud. And in one of his most controversial essays, Sexual Aberrations, he dared to say the unthinkable: that human sexuality is not merely a tool for reproduction, but a complex network of desires, impulses, and perversions that we all carry within us, including you. Wait. Don't run away just yet, because what's about to be revealed might make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Freud did not speak from morality. He was not looking to condemn or absolve. His work was about discovery, about unearthing the foundations of our psyche and exposing them to the world. And what he found was disturbing. The line between the normal and the perverse is blurrier than you think. There is no clear boundary, only a continuum of desires that society has arbitrarily categorized. Let's put this into perspective. Have you ever felt attracted to something you can't explain? Have you ever experienced a desire that clashes with the idea you have of yourself? Maybe it was a fleeting thought, an image, a fantasy that struck you and disappeared before you could analyze it. But it was there, and Freud would say that it was not a mistake, nor an aberration. It is the very nature of the human mind. The categories by which we judge sexuality are invented. What was once seen as a perversion is now accepted without a second thought. Think about this. There was a time when masturbation was considered a disease. Today, we know it is a common and healthy practice. What changed? Why is something that was once an abomination now considered normal? Freud analyzed fetishism, sadism, masochism, homosexuality, and in each case, he found the same thing. They are not illnesses. They are not deviations. They are expressions of a polymorphic sexual drive, of an internal energy that pushes us from the shadows of our mind. We try to repress it. We hide it. We label it as perversion. But repression does not destroy it. It only transforms it. And here's the unsettling part. Because if repression doesn't eliminate it, what do you think happens to it? It hides, it shifts, it finds new ways to come to light. It seeps into dreams, into slips of the tongue, into the words you didn't mean to say out loud. You cannot escape what you are. Freud discovered something terrifying. Drives do not disappear. They merely disguise themselves. What we condemn in others may be a reflection of what we refuse to see in ourselves. Every time something makes you uncomfortable, every time something provokes disgust in you, have you ever asked yourself why? Is it really foreign to you? Or is there something deeper, something you'd rather not face? And here's the worst part. What if all those aberrations weren't mistakes, but inevitable manifestations of human nature? What if the problem isn't in the desires themselves, but in the way we try to repress them? Freud argued that no one is exempt from perversion, that we all carry a fragment of what we condemn. Some accept it, others deny it, but the mind does not forget. The human being is an animal that fears its own nature. We prefer to hide behind an image of normality, to pretend that we are what society expects of us. But the truth is that deep within our psyche, in the places we dare not look, we all share the same impulses. The difference is in who faces them and who represses them. So tell me, how much of what you believe about yourself is real, and how much is just a facade to avoid facing the truth? Because in the end, Freud was right about one thing. Nothing is more terrifying than the human mind when it dares to look at itself without filters. And the real question is, do you dare to look? Let's do this right. I'm going to take you deeper, further than you expected. But before we continue, I must warn you. This is not a video for the weak. This is not a video for those who want to keep living with a comfortable idea of themselves. If you're still here, if you choose to listen until the end, prepare yourself to face something you won't be able to unsee. Something that will stay imprinted in your mind long after this video is over. We are going to dismantle the illusion. We are going to tear down the curtain covering your psyche. Because everything you thought you knew about human sexuality is based on a lie. Look around. Look at yourself. You think you know who you are. You think you can define yourself in a few words. Man, woman, heterosexual, homosexual, normal, abnormal. But none of that is real. Not in the way you've been made to believe. Sigmund Freud was the first to say it out loud. Human sexuality has no defined limits, no fixed shape. It is not just a tool for reproduction, but a whirlwind of impulses, desires, contradictions, and perversions. And here's what no one wants to accept. We all carry those perversions within us. Yes, you too. Let me ask you something. What really excites you? Not what you say out loud, not what you want others to believe. I mean that hidden desire, that fleeting thought that sometimes shakes you, and that you try to ignore. Why do you ignore it? Why do you feel guilt? Who taught you to be ashamed of something that is part of you? The problem is this: society has drawn imaginary lines between what is normal and what is deviant. But Freud discovered that this line doesn't exist. There is no wall separating right from wrong, only a spectrum, a continuum where we all move without realizing it. Now tell me, are you sure you really know who you are? Good. At this point, we have already crossed the line of comfort. We have entered a territory that few dare to discuss. But now comes the most important part. The part that could change how you see yourself forever. Because if all of this is true, what do you do with this information? Here's the great irony. We spend our lives repressing, hiding, ignoring the deepest aspects of our mind, believing that this way we control them. But in reality, those impulses control us. The only way to be truly free is to look in the mirror without fear. Let me put it another way. Think of an ocean. On the surface, everything seems calm. It is the place where you feel safe, where you believe you have control. But beneath, in the depths, there are invisible currents, uncontrollable forces that, if ignored, will drag you under without you even realizing it. Your mind is that ocean, and until now, you have only lived on the surface. But staying on the surface doesn't protect you. It makes you weak. Because the more you deny what lies beneath, the more power you give it over you. So the question is not whether you have darkness inside you. The question is whether you have the courage to face it. Because once something becomes conscious, you can no longer ignore it. And that is the most dangerous part of knowledge. Now it's up to you to decide what to do with it.